itself and boost the economy. It didn't. Instead, it made the rich richer while working people fell further behind. Now they are doubling down, making America sicker, poorer, and hungrier just to funnel more money to their billionaire donors.
The gentlewoman's time has expired.
Republican responsibility is economic cruelty. Vote no.
The gentlewoman's time has expired. The gentleman from Virginia reserves. The gentleman from Arizona is recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. Economic literature, and I think even the board here demonstrated that if we go back to the original TCJA, those corporate tax cuts, over 70% show up in wages. That's one of the reasons there was such remarkable wage growth without inflation. If you care about workers, you get tax policy correct. And with that, Madam Chair, I'd like to yield 60 seconds, a magic 60 seconds, to the leader.
The majority leader, the gentleman from Louisiana, is recognized for 1 minute.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I thank my friend from Arizona for yielding for 1 minute. I rise in strong support, first of all, of this budget resolution. It's a critically important piece of legislation. Frankly, might be one of the most important resolutions that this chamber has taken up in years to start the process of delivering on the mandate that President Trump and this House and Senate Republican majority got from the voters of America in November. Now, I understand that my friends on the other side of the aisle are upset with the voters of America that they lost the election. They're upset with the results. But if everybody here listened to what the American people said in November, frankly, first of all, they would vote for this resolution because the resolution delivers on those commitments, the things that were talked about, the things that sent people to the polls that say, finally, let's get America back on track. And how do we do it? We start, number one, by staving off a $4.5 trillion tax increase. $4.5 trillion. So we've heard a lot of hyperbole over the last few days. Just here on this House floor, we've heard from the other side of the aisle, Madam Chair, about millionaires and billionaires. For some reason, it seems like if somebody's successful in America, the other side of the aisle wants to demonize them, as if that's wrong. But clearly, if you read this bill is not about millionaires and billionaires. This bill is about whether or not you're going to stand up for the middle class of America, who will be devastated if this bill fails. A lot of times when we come to the House floor, Madam Chair, you can vote for or against a bill. And maybe the bill does good things, maybe you think the bill does bad things, and if you vote against the bill, nothing happens. And some days, nothing happening is a good day. Today, if nothing happens, it's not nothing that happens. A no vote. And let's be clear, you've got options, Madam Chair. You can vote yes to pass this resolution and get this process of budget reconciliation started, or you can vote no, like all of my colleagues on the other side of the aisle brag they're going to do. So if that's the case, Madam Chair, and maybe I can persuade a few because maybe they don't know this, because clearly they haven't read the bill. You hear them talking about Medicaid over and over and over again, cuts to Medicaid, cuts to Medicaid. Clearly they haven't read the bill, because if you read the bill, the word Medicaid is mentioned a total of 0 times in the bill. 0. But that's all they want to talk about. If you read the bill, you would talk about what this does to engage 11 different committees in this Congress, 11 committees, to start a process called budget reconciliation, where they will go into open hearings on C-SPAN. Everybody in America can watch the deliberations, where there will be a discussion about how to get this country back on track, which the people of this nation are hungering for. Not people yelling and screaming and telling lies and trying to scare people with false information. We are here to talk facts. And the facts are a no vote imposes $4.5 trillion in taxes that primarily hit middle and low income families, not the millionaires and billionaires that they seem to want to demonize. You know, we're trying, for example, and you heard President Trump at every rally talk about no tax on tips. Now, clearly the other side of the aisle was against that. They wanted everybody's taxes to go up. They said they were against renewing the Trump tax cuts, let alone adding things like no tax on tips. And so we know they were against making sure that those people that work for tips don't have to pay taxes on it. Well, who are those people that work for tips? Last time I checked, Elon Musk does not work for tips, Madam Chair. The billionaires aren't the ones working for tips. In fact, we went back and checked. There's over 6 million Americans in this country, 6 million, that actually do work for tips. And what is their average salary, Madam Chair? Is it $1 million? Is it tens of millions? Is it $1 billion? No. In fact, the average salary for tip workers is $32,000 a year. That's who we're helping in this bill. If you vote no, you're saying to those tip workers who are struggling, some of them may be working 2 or 3 jobs. They're not the millionaires and the billionaires. They might actually be able to take a family vacation for the first time if they don't have to pay tax. If the 87,000 new IRS agents that they created in the last administration are not unleashed on them to go audit them to try to make them pay more money on their tip money, which is what is happening, we say no, they shouldn't have to pay taxes on those tips, Madam Chair. And the other side of the aisle says no to that. And they hide behind Elon Musk. They hide behind billionaires and millionaires. Except it's not the millionaires and billionaires that we're trying to help. They want to confuse the voters of this country so that when they vote no, the middle class of America doesn't realize in revolt that they just voted with their no vote to impose a $4.5 trillion tax hike on the middle class of this country. Look at the big number. Every income level tax goes up. You pay income taxes in America. If the other side of the aisle, Madam Chair, votes no, everybody's income tax rate goes up in America. But who are those folks? 145 million families. Not 145 million people. I'm talking about 145 million families in America who make less than $1 million. Will see their taxes go up. Go up. A tax increase, not on the millionaires and billionaires, if they vote no, but it's a tax increase primarily on middle and lower income families. Why aren't they telling us that? Why haven't they said that on this House floor? Because they don't want the American people to know the truth. They want to create class warfare and try to divide the country against itself. Shame on people who want to divide this country even more. It's time we unite this country and grow this country, grow the middle class, actually create more jobs and wealth and opportunity, which, by the way, as Mr. Schweikert pointed out earlier, and he's got the charts to prove it, wealth and opportunity for lower and middle income families is what happened in 2017 and beyond when we started with the Trump tax cuts. And just because they don't like the person whose name is behind those tax cuts, they want to try to demonize them. But the facts still remain. Who benefited the most? The low and the middle income. We were losing our middle class in America in the decade before we passed those tax cuts. Why? Go look at the record, the facts. We were losing great American company after great American company moving out of America. They were leaving the country. Why? We had the highest corporate tax rate in the world. Now, the other side would say, stick it to them even more, raise tax rates even more. By the way, there are laboratories of democracy where that's been tried. It's called New York and California. And every time they keep raising rates, what happens? People move in droves. Million-plus people have left those states to go to other states, Texas, Florida, Tennessee, that have no income tax. So sure, you're seeing it happen in America, but what happens if they destroy America's system? Where do you go? Well, some of those people left America. Madam Chair, we don't want that to happen. We actually brought companies back. Great, recognized. You would know the logos of all of them if we put them up. There's too many to mention. That had left America over years and years, and nobody did anything about it. Everybody knew why it was happening. And so we made our country competitive again. How? By lowering tax rates. Now, everybody should have been for that. Unfortunately, their party back then, the Democrat Party, said, we're going to vote no on that. Every single Democrat voted no. Why did they make it an issue, a partisan issue? I don't know, but I know this. When we lowered those tax rates to make America competitive, we're a global competing economy. Our companies in America don't just compete against the person down the street. They're competing against companies all over the globe, and we should applaud that. We shouldn't just applaud it, by the way. We should make sure they remain the most competitive businesses in the world. America remains the most competitive country in the world, but we weren't. We were not. That's why we were losing people. Imagine people saying, I'm going to leave the United States of America, greatest country in the history of the world, because our country stopped being competitive. And we finally did something about it. This Republican majority in 2017 did something about it and finally brought those jobs back and brought wages up. Wages grew for everybody. Companies were giving out bonuses, pay raises. Our unemployment rate went to virtually zero. Those are the facts. And so they want those tax rates to go up. Not all of them expire. The corporate rate remains, by the way, competitively low at 21%. The corporate rate stays at 21. You know what doesn't stay low? If they vote no, and I'm a yes vote, because I want our country to be competitive. I want our small businesses to be able to be competitive with big businesses. They love beating up on the big guy, but guess what they're going to do? And let's look at the facts. Anybody who votes no on this bill, Madam Chair, will tell every small business in America. It's a provision of the tax code called 199A. And if you're not a small business, you've probably never heard of 199A. But you know what? If you are a small business, a 20-person mom-and-pop shop on Main Street, America, anywhere in this country, 199A is your lifeblood. Why? Because that's what allows you as a small business, a 10, 15, 20-person American dream story. You started your own business. But you can now compete and pay the same tax rate as the big global multinational corporation, who's at 21. But what happens, Madam Chair, if they vote no? And again, the no vote does not mean nothing happens. If you vote no, you are saying you want the small business now to go from a 21% effective rate to as high as 43% taxes. So think about this. You're the mom and pop small business, and you're barely hanging on. You've beaten all the internet competitors, and you're still being able to hold on to those jobs. You know, show up at work every day. Employ the 20 people, the 15 people that you're creating jobs for. If the other side gets their way, you jack up to 43% tax rate when your competitor, the big global billionaire corporation, is still at 21. That's what happens if they vote no. Why haven't they said that during the debate? I haven't heard it yet. Again, all you hear about is the billionaires and the millionaires are the ones getting all the breaks. Except it's not true, Madam Chair. It's just not true. Every small business in America gets kicked in the gut if this fails. Every small business in America. And look at the numbers. You're talking about over 20 million small businesses. Think of how many workers that is. Do they just want to kick all those workers out to the street, to the unemployment rolls? Because if you're paying 43% and your competitor's paying 21%, you don't need a math degree to figure out how quickly you're not going to be able to compete. We made them competitive in 2017. Why does the other side want to vote no and all of a sudden make every small business in America uncompetitive with the big billionaires? They're defending the billionaires, Madam Chair. This is insanity. But that's the reality of what happens if you vote no. And again, maybe by me going through the actual details, we might convince a couple of folks that maybe somebody duped them. They gave them some talking points. You just mention the word millionaire and billionaire, and next thing you know, you got a parade of 200 people that'll just line up and bash the bill. Except it's not in the bill. Do you want to stand up for the middle-class families of this country? Vote yes on the bill. Because that's who we're defending. Republicans are going to defend the ability for the next billionaire company maybe, but right now it's a dream in somebody's basement. This is what's great about America. And if you haven't, go look at your favorite company. Go look at the biggest companies. Most of them started with the dream in somebody's garage in Silicon Valley. I know a lot of entrepreneurs who started with great ideas and risked it all over and over again, and then ultimately they might have hit it big. But the only way they were able to hit it big is because they had the ability in the United States of America to turn that dream into a reality where now all of a sudden they might hire 300 people. We ought to applaud that. We ought to celebrate that. We ought to make sure that remains in place. The day we take away that ability in the United States, God help us as a country. Because the few people that still want that dream, but they don't have America to go to pursue it, they might go to other places, but there just aren't that many other places in the world to pursue it. We cannot crush the American dream of America. It starts with strengthening the middle class and the lower income families' ability to compete with the big guys so that one day maybe they can be. And then they too will be demonized by the other side. But in the meantime, give them that ability to compete fairly, and you take that away if you vote no on this bill. Facts. Those are the facts. Whose rates go up, whose rates don't if this bill fails. That's where we are. And I do think it's important one more time just to go through the facts of the 2017 bill, because so many lies have been told about that. The poverty rate dropped to the lowest level in history. Again, this isn't the millionaires and billionaires. When we passed the bill in 2017 that every Democrat voted no on, the poverty rate in America dropped to its lowest rate in history. Unemployment hit a 50-year low. And lower income workers, not the millionaires and billionaires, lower income workers saw their wages grow substantially faster than the highest 10% of income earners. So whose side are you going to be on today? We're going to give everybody an opportunity. Stand up for those hardworking people who want their shot at the American dream. Stand up for that waiter or waitress who's working their tail off tonight, who's going to come home and go, wait a minute, I might not have to pay taxes on my tips. I can save that money and for the first time start a college fund for my kid, because it's not the millionaires and the billionaires that benefit from that. It's the average income worker, millions of them, by the way, the average income of $32,000 a year. That's who we're fighting for. That's who House Republicans are fighting for. And we're going to deliver for them because that was the mandate that the people of this country gave us. Whether you agree or not, whether you like Donald Trump or not, Donald Trump ran on very specific things, and he's delivering on those things. And I applaud President Trump for actually following through on the promises that were made. Promises made and promises kept actually matter in this town, and they're rare. And when it happens, we ought to applaud it. When this majority actually delivers, we're going to see on that board real soon who actually stands with the 77 million people of this country who said, we want this change. We demand this change. We're going to go to the polls to vote for this change. Let's preserve the American dream. Yes, at the risk of offending a couple of people, I'm fine with saying let's make America great again, because America deserves to be great again. Don't put a $4.5 trillion tax on the middle class of this country. Let's let this country grow. Let's see the opportunity flourish. We will do it. We need to pass this bill to start that process. I urge all of my colleagues to vote yes, Madam Chair. And with that, I yield back the balance of my time.
The gentleman from Louisiana yields back. The gentleman from Arizona reserves. The gentleman from Virginia is recognized.
Madam Chair, I yield 1 minute to the gentlelady from Oregon, distinguished member of the Educational Workforce Committee, Ms. Bonamici.
The gentlewoman is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Byer. Madam Chair, last week I had 5 town hall meetings across Northwest Oregon in urban, suburban, and rural areas, and not one person, not one of the thousands who attended asked me to support a budget that cuts Medicaid, gives tax breaks to the wealthiest, raises the cost of living, or undermines safety and security, but that's what we're voting on today. The Republicans are stealing the hard-earned tax dollars of Oregonians and Americans to line the pockets of people like Elon Musk. This ruthless Republican budget will rip away health care from low-income and working families and children, and take us back to the days where if you get sick, you either go without treatment or you go bankrupt. It could rip away resources from local schools and prevent children, especially students with disabilities, from getting a good education. Republicans say they're eliminating waste. Want to talk about waste? Waste is giving the wealthiest big tax cuts while regular Americans are struggling to put food on the table. The cost of groceries is increasing, wages continue to remain stagnant, and too many families can't afford housing or childcare. The Republican majority's answer? Rip you off and give tax breaks to the wealthiest, and then hope, unrealistically, that it's going to trickle down. We must oppose this Republican billionaire budget. We must focus instead on the American people so everyone, not just those at the top, have the opportunity for a better future. I yield back the balance of my time.
The gentlewoman yields back. The gentleman from Virginia is reserves, and the gentleman from Arizona is recognized.
Madam Chair, may I inquire into the time?
The gentleman from Arizona has 9 minutes remaining. The gentleman from Virginia has 13 and a half minutes remaining.
Madam Chair, I reserve.
Gentleman from Arizona reserves. The gentleman from Virginia is recognized.
Madam Chair, I yield 1.5 minutes to the gentleman from California, the ranking member of the Veterans Affairs Committee, Mr. Takano.
The gentleman from California is recognized.
I thank the gentleman from Virginia for yielding. Madam Speaker, as the ranking member of the House Committee on Veterans Affairs, I rise today in complete opposition to the Republican rip-off budget resolution. Let's be clear. This is a tax break for billionaires like Elon Musk, paid for by working people, including millions of our veterans. The Republican rip-off cuts at least $880 billion from Medicaid, the program that 80 million Americans, including 9 million veterans, rely on for health insurance coverage. This extreme budget also cuts $230 billion from SNAP. Every year, SNAP helps almost 43 million Americans, including over 1 million veterans, put food on the table. But Republicans aren't just going to leave American veterans without health care or make them go hungry. They also want to take a chainsaw to VA, attacking the very people who provide care to the veterans who've served our country with honor. This is completely unacceptable, and I urge every member to oppose this abomination of a resolution that uses veterans as a piggy bank to pay for a billionaire tax break. I yield back.
The gentleman from Virginia reserves. The gentleman from Arizona reserves. The gentleman from Virginia is recognized.
Madam Chair, yield 1 minute to the gentleman from Nevada, a distinguished member of the Ways and Means Committee, Mr. Horsford.
The gentleman is recognized for 1 minute.
Thank you, and to the gentleman for yielding. I rise today not in favor or opposition. I rise in defense of 811,000 Nevadans and countless people across the country whose lives are in danger. I rise in defense of my constituents who will be impacted if Republicans are able to slash their health care services to fund $4.5 trillion to the ultra-wealthy and to big corporations. Madam Chair, Nevada Democrats and Republicans worked together to implement the Affordable Care Act, including the expansion of Medicaid. We reduced the uninsured rate by a third. 563,000 children were able to receive coverage as a result. But the fact that Nevada did the right thing then means we have more to lose as Republicans do the wrong thing now. Our state would be the third hardest hit, including in rural communities. This isn't a budget, it's the Republican Screw America bill. That's why I'm calling on every member of this body to vote no. I will in defense of my constituents.
The gentleman's time has expired. Gentleman from Virginia reserves. Gentleman from Arizona reserves. Gentleman from Virginia is recognized.
Madam Chair, I yield 2 minutes to the gentleman from New York, distinguished member of the Appropriations Committee, Mr. Espaillat.
Gentleman from New York is recognized for 2 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Very often we take very serious votes on this floor. But this vote is a deadly serious vote. This is a vote about life and death. I represent just slightly over 780,000 constituents. Out of those 780,000 constituents, 524,000 of them are Medicaid recipients. 524,000 of them. Over 100,000 of them are Medicare recipients. So over 600,000 of the 780,000 constituents that I represent receive either Medicaid or Medicare. In addition to that, there are 263,000 households that receive food stamp. This bill will put their life and health in danger, Madam Speaker. This is about life and death. As the Republican majority proposes to cut Medicaid across this country, to give a massive $4.5 trillion, with a capital T, trillion dollar cut in taxes to the very rich. And who will that go to? 50% of that will go to the shareholders. 44% of that tax cut will go to high-end executive. The fat cat executives are going to get this money, and working class and even middle class people are going to get stiffed with the cuts. And this is about life and death. It's not a simple piece of legislation that we will pass. There are diabetics that will see the price of insulin go up. There are people with renal problems, with cardiovascular problems. Madam Speaker, this is about life and death. Vote no for this bill, and I yield back.
The gentleman's time has expired. The gentleman from Virginia reserves. The gentleman from Arizona reserves. The gentleman from Arizona.
Madam Chair, let me have just a couple moments of joy here. A reconciliation budget that only touches individuals and pass-through businesses, so there are no shareholders who are getting, that's actually already locked in. That's one of the reasons we're doing this, is because you want to see distortions in the economy, have a world where small businesses, pass-throughs, employee-owned, their taxes shoot up. But the C corporations are down here. What distortion did you just create in the world? I'm a C corporation. I'm buying everyone else. You want to see the big get bigger? It's one of the reasons you have to do this. But also, I beg my brothers and sisters, have a different view, but actually just try to get the most basic facts correct here. And with that, Madam Chair, I reserve.
Gentleman from Arizona reserves. The gentleman from Virginia is recognized.
Madam Chair, I yield 1.5 minutes to the gentlelady from New Mexico, a distinguished and unenviable member of the Rules Committee, Ms. Lezer Fernandez.
The gentlewoman from New Mexico is recognized.
Republicans are attacking women's ability to afford life as a mom or a daughter. Medicaid supports more than 40% of all births in the United States. Our grandmothers and parents in nursing homes rely on Medicaid to pay their health bills. Their caregivers, who are mostly women, depend on Medicaid themselves. Over 37 million children rely on Medicaid and CHIP. Republicans would strip this essential health care from women across the country. Why? To give tax breaks to their billionaire bros. Women need to know how they will be impacted wherever they live. Earlier today, we heard Representative Valadao acknowledge that his voters depend on Medicaid and are upset. Indeed, 507,000 of his constituents receive Medicaid, but he said he will vote yes on the bill. I need women across the country to visit the Democratic Women's Caucus website to find out how these cuts will impact them. How will the Republicans give billionaires and millionaire tax cuts on their economic pain? Republicans should stand with their moms and not the billionaires.
Gentleman yields back. The gentleman from Virginia reserves. The gentleman from Arizona.
Madam Chairwoman. So, apparently the Democrat position is the $2,000 you get per child, which was the doubling of the child tax credit in 2017, should go away and go back to the $1,000. Wow. Because I think that's what I just heard. So those of us who've adopted kids, those who have children, congratulations. Your child tax credit is going to get cut in half. Reserve.
The gentleman from Arizona reserves. The gentleman from Virginia is recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair. That is, with respect to my friend from Arizona, that is not what I heard. We heard that this budget resolution is put together, promises cuts that we are desperately afraid of. When we do the math, people who count on, in Congressman Schweiker's district, Arizona 1, people who count on SNAP to put food on the table are 85,000. Medicaid recipients at risk of losing their health care, 127,000. And Affordable Care Act recipients to see their premium payments go up by varying amounts, 44,000. We'd love to see a budget work out that somehow gives the lie to those frightening numbers. With that, Madam Chair, I yield 1 minute to the gentleman from California, a distinguished member of the Joint Economic Committee, Mr. Min.
The gentleman from California is recognized for 1 minute.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I rise today in opposition to the disastrous GOP budget resolution. This bill seeks to cut $3 trillion in spending, supposedly by targeting waste and fraud. But the entire domestic discretionary budget is only $917 billion. The math simply doesn't add up. There's only one way to get to $3 trillion in cuts, and that's to slash lifeline programs, including nearly $1 trillion in cuts to Medicaid. Under the GOP budget, over 136,000 of my constituents would lose their health care, including over 42,000 children. This budget would also take food away from hungry children, deny health care to sick veterans. So why are House Repubs pushing such an immoral and cruel agenda? Not to reduce our deficits. In fact, their budget adds nearly $1.6 trillion a year to our debt. No, it's to pass tax cuts for billionaires and foreign investors. In fact, over $350 billion of these same tax cuts went to foreign investors over the last 10 years. Let's be clear. If this budget passes, kids are going to go to bed hungry so that we can give more money to Elon Musk and investors from Saudi Arabia, China, and Russia. This is immoral. It's wrong. I urge my colleagues to oppose this horrible budget measure.
Gentleman's time has expired. The
Reserve.
Gentleman from Virginia reserves.
Madam Chair, reserve.
The gentleman from Arizona reserves. Gentleman from Virginia is recognized.
Madam Chair, I yield 1.5 minutes to the gentleman from New Mexico, a distinguished member of the Agriculture and Armed Services Committee, Mr. Vasquez.
The gentleman's recognized for 1.5 minutes.
Thank you. Madam Speaker, I thought Republicans' plans were to make Americans' lives better. I thought we were supposed to lower the cost of goods. I thought we were supposed to make health care more affordable for Americans. Well, let me tell you this. When you strip health care away from 290,000 New Mexicans, many of which are in my district, 132,000 children and 26,000 seniors, can anybody on the other side of the aisle tell me how is that making life better for my constituents and for New Mexicans? Well, it's not going to. And in fact, this Republican budget is going to raise health care premiums by nearly $1,000 a year for 20,000 people in my district. It could force a 60-year-old couple to pay over $16,000 more annually for coverage. Now, in my district and in my state, we have some of the best service records of veterans in this entire country. In fact, we are home to the code talkers. We are home to folks who have served our country with pride and with dignity for so many years that when I look at the cuts that are being made to the VA healthcare system, I'm ashamed of what this body is doing. I'm ashamed of what my colleagues across the aisle are doing. And when I go home and I talk to a working mother, I talk to a person who works every day, wakes up at 7 in the morning and works 2 jobs and has to send their kid to school and relies on the food programs just to keep their family healthy, just to have something in the stomach of that 7-year-old who is going to first grade, and to know that their food assistance programs could get taken away. We're doing the exact opposite of what Republicans promised that they would do for this country. This budget is a statement of where we're at as a country, and this is the wrong statement that we need to be making. Thank you. I yield back.
Gentleman from Arizona.
Mr. Chair, may I inquire once again on time?
The gentleman has 7.5 minutes remaining. The gentleman from Virginia has 4.5 minutes remaining.
Mr. Chair, just as having hearing some of my Democrat colleagues, I was just thumbing through the actual document. I know this is crazy and literacy being sort of a lost art, but I'm trying to find where this heresy, these cuts, now look, there's a discussion here that basically says we need not to just purely stick this on the debt and deficit. Okay. But like in the E&C instruction, which is energy and commerce for, I think it's 4% of their area of authorization. You're telling me after the hundreds of hours idiots like me have come behind this microphone and done presentations showing the distortions, the waste and fraud, the misallocation, the lack of use of technology, the duplications, you can't produce 4%? Why is the left so terrified of the moment where maybe a document that forces us in some ways to listen to each other, to maybe how do we do this better, faster, and cheaper? Because I'm going to say this 3 or 4 more times. Does the left really want to raise taxes on the average American family $2,853? Is that the plan here? Because this is 63% of those who are tax filers will see their taxes go up. Is that the plan here? Mr. Chair, reserve.
Mr. Chairman, let me just respond to my good friend from Arizona. No, that is not what Democrats want. We don't want to see taxes go up for average middle-class Americans at all. But this is what our budget experts say based on the budget resolution before us, is that it will, as my friend Mr. Schweikert knows well, to achieve significant cuts, the kind of cuts that you're talking about, inevitably we have to look at Medicaid, Medicare, and Social Security. We look at the fact that in Virginia, just eliminating Medicaid Advantage is 660,000 Virginians. We look at Medicare, 46% of the children in America receive their health care through Medicaid. And then we look at Medicare, it's beyond belief what that would do. I am looking forward to somehow seeing how you achieve the massive budget cuts that are in this resolution without touching those. That's why you've heard so much concern today about what this will do to the average American people. It's not that we don't want to revisit not raising taxes on the American public. We also just don't want to cut away their health care, their SNAP benefits, their ability to put food on the table, and the like. And Mr. Chair, I am ready to close when my distinguished chair of the Joint Economic Committee tells me it's time.
Gentleman reserves. Gentleman from Arizona.
Mr. Chairman, just because I want to help out, because I know this is heresy around here, truly one of my favorite members to work with, even though we're on different sides of the aisle, you may want to retract the word Social Security, which you just said, because you know Social Security cannot be allowed in any of this package.
Happy to retract it.
And with that, I reserve.
Mr. I also noticed that our anxiety about Social Security will not go away.
Oh, no. And who else has been working for a decade now to save it? Because remember, in 2033, about halfway through the year, the trust fund is gone. And is that a Republican or Democrat problem? I would say it's a morality problem. We will be doubling senior poverty in America in 8 years. And how often are we allowed to come talk about it? With that, Mr. Chair, I reserve.
Gentleman reserves. Gentleman from Virginia.
Mr. Chair, I am ready to close. And in doing so, let me first begin that my good friend John Larson on the Ways and Means Committee has for years promoted Social Security 2100, which would actually fix it for the rest of this century. Mr. Chairman, President Trump and the Republican majority were elected last November to deliver on a simple promise to lower costs for Americans. Unfortunately, this budget does not do that. My Republican friends have decided that providing billions of dollars in tax breaks for a few millionaires and billionaires is worth ordinary Americans bearing, as Elon Musk put it last year, some temporary hardship. That hardship brought about this budget will come in many forms and may not mean much to the richest man in history, but will certainly mean a lot to ordinary people. It will grow our debt by $4.6 trillion. It will lead to higher interest rates and raising prices on goods that Americans pay every day. And it will cut crucial government services that keep us safe, healthy, and productive. And it will strip health care and food assistance from tens of millions of Americans who are already struggling to make ends meet. And what are Americans getting in exchange for this hardship? Tax cuts for billionaires and corporations that they do not need and that our country cannot afford. This is a bad deal. I urge all of my colleagues to reject this proposal. Thank you, and I yield back.
Gentleman yields back the balance of his time. Gentleman from Arizona.
Mr. Chairman, I am prepared to close, but I'd like to inquire in time.
Gentleman has 5 minutes remaining.
Mr. Chairman. I know it's painful to listen to an idiot like me for 5 minutes, but let's have some fun here. And first I want to say for everyone that's spoken, I love the passion. I love the caring. I'm just once again got to come back. So this is a reconciliation budget. It basically builds boxes. It's boxes for here's your authorization. You can go more, but you can't go less. Okay, I'm on the other side. I actually believe there should be more cuts in spending because I think we can achieve that by modernization, changing processes, the adoption of technology. Last week, I believe I was behind this very microphone, and we were showing charts of, hey, this is Medicare. How many billions and billions do we spend every year on duplicative MRI, ultrasounds, x-rays? Does that make someone healthier? Does that make them better? No. We're basically, it's waste and fraud, but the ability to use technology to get rid of that. If we all agreed to do something like that, we're going to get rid of these duplicate servers. We're going to get rid of some of the, we like to say waste and fraud, but the fact of the matter is design problems in the model. You didn't cut a single service. You didn't take anything away from someone. But what you gave is my kids a chance to survive. Because part of this, look, part of this I don't like. I'm going to be brutally honest. I wish there were more cuts. I don't like the amount of borrowing here. But if this is the moment that opens up a chance for someone like myself that has spent a decade here passionately trying to say it doesn't have to be cuts. It's actually the adoption of technology. Look, I'm going to go slightly off track, and then I want to get back into the distribution. If I turn to my brothers and sisters and anyone willing to listen right now, what's the single biggest cost in our society? This is where Schweikert soaks himself in kerosene and plays with matches, Mr. Chair. Turns out it's obesity. Our brothers and sisters, we calculate over $9 trillion in additional healthcare costs over the next decade. What would happen if the left and the right actually said, we are going to fixate on the way we deliver healthcare, the way we deliver nutrition support, the way we do agriculture policy, that we are going to help our brothers and sisters be healthier. Oh, by the way, family formation, the use of healthcare, the ability to have a life. Maybe it's moments like this where we go to battle and committees that have really smart people, but armies of lobbyists outside these hallways who look at us, who stress out when we start saying, time to modernize, time to find a better, faster, more elegant way to deliver services and slow down the piling of debt. Because the math still comes back to 63% of our tax-paying brothers and sisters will see their taxes go up. Now, for the comments you've heard over and over here that the distributional effects, okay, Mr. Beyer and I are both on Ways and Means, battle in the committee saying, because remember, there is no bill, coming out of the committee yet. What's it going to look like? Do we actually have to make elegant changes? Are there things we can agree as a body that will maximize economic growth? Because at some point, you got to look, and I'm sorry I've beaten up this chart, but we've been trying to model what happens to the economy if we allow these tax hikes to come in automatically. But it turns out also the economy is benefited if we maximize how much we pay for. At the end of 10 years, and I know changing spending policy is hard, but if we were to maximize both, at the end of the decade, we're more prosperous. And Mr. Chairman, at some point that's the ultimate question here. Is prosperity moral? Is there a way we can actually do our work here where we maximize the prosperity for my 2.5-year-old, but also the person heading to retirement, to our brothers and sisters who are out there working their hearts out, there is a way. The hardest part is we're going to have to do things differently than we've done in the past. And with that, I yield back, Mr. Chairman.
All time for general debate has expired. Pursuant to the rule, the amendment printed in House Report 119-5 is adopted and the concurrent resolution as amended is considered read. Under the rule, the committee rises.
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Speaker, the Committee on the Whole House on the State of the Union has had under consideration House Concurrent Resolution 14, and pursuant to the House Resolution 161, I report the concurrent resolution as amended by that resolution back to the House.
The Chair of the Committee of the Whole House on the State of the Union reports that the committee has had under consideration House Concurrent Resolution 14, and pursuant to House Resolution 161, reports a concurrent resolution as amended by that resolution back to the House. Under the rule, the previous question is ordered. Pursuant to Clause 1C of Rule 19, further consideration of House Concurrent Resolution 14 is postponed. Proceedings will resume on questions previously postponed. Votes will be taken in the following order. The motion to suspend the rules and pass H.R. 788, adoption of House Concurrent Resolution 14, and the motion to suspend the rules and pass H.R. 804. The first electronic vote will be conducted as a 15-minute vote pursuant to Clause 9 of Rule 20. Remaining electronic votes will be conducted as 5-minute votes. Pursuant to Clause 8 of Rule 20, the unfinished business is a vote on the motion of the gentleman from Texas, Mr. Williams, to suspend the rules and pass H.R. 788, on which the yeas and nays are ordered. The clerk will report the title.
H.R. 788, a bill to provide for the Department of Education and Small Business Administration joint research and development activities and for other purposes.
The question is, will the House suspend the rules and pass the bill? Members will record their votes by electronic device. This is a 15-minute vote.
On this vote, the ayes are 427, the nays are 3, 2/3 being in the affirmative. The rules are suspended. The bill is passed, and without objection, the motion to reconsider is laid on the table. Pursuant to Clause 8 of Rule 20, the unfinished business is the vote on the motion of the gentleman from Texas, Mr. Williams, to suspend the rules and pass H.R. 804, on which the ayes and nays are ordered. Clerk will report the title.
H.R. 804, a bill to require the administrator of the Small Business Administration to improve access to disaster assistance for individuals located in rural areas and for other purposes.
Question is, will the House suspend the rules and pass the bill? Members will record their votes by electronic device. This is a 5-minute vote. This vote, the ayes are 415, the nays are 8, two-thirds being in the affirmative. The rules are suspended. The bill is passed, and without objection, the motion to reconsider is laid on the table. Pursuant to Clause 1C of Rule 19, further proceedings on House Concurrent Resolution 14 will now resume. The clerk will report the title.
Union Calendar Number 1, House Concurrent Resolution 14, Concurrent Resolution establishing the congressional budget for the United States government for fiscal year 2025 and setting forth the appropriate budgetary levels for fiscal years 2026 through 2034.
Pursuant to Clause 1C of Rule 19, further proceedings on House Concurrent Resolution 14. The question is on adoption of the concurrent resolution. Under Clause 10 of Rule 20, the ayes and nays are ordered. Members will record their votes by electronic device. This will be a 15-minute vote. Vote, the ayes are 217, the nays are 215. Majority voting in the affirmative, the concurrent resolution is adopted.